Now, when you turned on the telly this morning or you boiled your kettle, it's likely that all of the electricity that you're using came from the national grid.
Yeah, and from today, the system which operates it is being brought under public ownership. Well, our climate editor, Justin Rowlatt, is at the National Grid Control Centre for us, the nerve centre. And Justin, I mean, what does this mean for households and crucially, the people that pay the bills?
Well, let's come on to that in a moment, because this is quite unusual to be given permission to come into this room. You come through an airlock. The location is top secret. It is bomb-proof. This place is a bit of critical national infrastructure because, as you say, it runs the entire electricity system for the UK. Let's take a quick look at what they get up to in here. So the board you see in front of me, obviously all the desks here are the guys controlling, men and women controlling the system, but the board we've got in front of us shows Britain tilted on its side, so Scotland up to the left, the south of England to the right, and the coloured lines that you see are the network of wires that knit together the energy system, the electricity system of the UK, and it's the job of this place to balance supply and demand, calling on different power stations to go start operating to make sure that there's enough electricity to make your toast and put on your kettle in the morning. Now, if we look slightly to the right here, and we're going to zoom in a little, there's quite an interesting map of Britain there. Now that shows the interconnectors, the big wires that connect us to our neighbours in Europe. And at the moment, the arrows show that we're importing, most of them are importing electricity. There's a bit of an export. That shows the big flows of electricity around the country. And then I just want to bring your attention to the box below, the chart below. Now that tells us how much of generation is low carbon, so the renewable on the grid. And as you can see, almost all of, well, the whole of Scotland is 100% renewables, a bit more patchy across the rest of the country, but the total 58.2% of the country, of the power in the country is coming from renewables, which is a really impressive figure when you think how quickly the UK has moved away from fossil fuels. Just overnight, the last coal-fired power station came offline, and that is part of the process which explains why the government has decided to bring this place, the National Energy Systems Operator, into public ownership. It was an initiative of the Conservative government who were adamant it wasn't a privatisation. Well, I'm joined by the chief executive of the new National Energy Systems Operator, Fintan. They said it wasn't a nationalisation, but they paid 630 million quid for you. So it sounds a bit like a nationalisation. What is the point of bringing this place into public ownership?
So the point of it is that it brings together in one institution, one public corporation, an organisation that will strategically plan the energy system. And what that means for people in their homes is that we will take care of making sure over the long term that we chart that journey to sustainable energy. You talked about the level of renewable energy on the system. How we get to that point in a way that keeps the lights on, keeps people's energy supplies secure, but is also affordable and fair in that transition for everyone.
OK, so the government's target is zero carbon electricity by 2030, what, 5 and a bit years, almost no time at all. Is that possible? Is that achievable?
It's a huge task, right? It's a massive transformation of our energy system, but it is doable. It will require us to do things very differently than we've done them to date. It will require the industry to do things much quicker, but it is possible to achieve it.
When you say quicker, you're talking about investing in really expensive infrastructure. Now, the quicker you do that kind of stuff, the more it costs. This is going to cost British people money, isn't it?
Well, I think what we need to look at, though, is how we're going to transform the system and move from being dependent on international fossil fuels like gas and the prices that they are to having much more control over our energy supply. And that goes to the price we pay for the energy, but also energy security as well.
And it's not just about investing in new infrastructure. You're also going to be asking consumers or offering consumers the opportunity to change the way they use power. Just briefly explain that to me, please.
I think that's a really important part of what we need to do. In the past, we had our demand flexibility service where we paid people to change how they use electricity. We recently had 1,700 EVs on the grid contributing to how we manage the system, and making that participation of customers even easier into the future is a critical part of transforming the system.
Fintan Sly, Chief Executive of the new National Energy Systems Operator, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So we are all part of this transition to a low-carbon energy system. John, Sarah.
Thanks, Justin. Fascinating. That is quite a screen behind Justin, isn't it?
It really, that's using enough power itself, isn't it?